Morning all. Well, we've made it through to Friday. It's been a bit of a taxing week, not because of the coronavirus outbreak or anything like that. We've had a couple of little disasters on the boat. The latest one of which was this morning. I have managed to drop one of the side hatches on my right hand. Thankfully, I haven't broken anything, but by gum, it did half sting. So, excuse me, that's another disaster to add to the list. The biggest we had was on Tuesday morning when the inverter, which supplies our 240 volt ring main, blew up. So we've not had any 240 volt available since Tuesday. Bit of a beggar because of course we use the immersion heater, we've got the washing machine, which are both 240 volt. So the washing machine is hors de combat, shall we say, and we're lucky in the fact that the hot water tank is also heated by the engine when the engine's running, and as we need to run the engine pretty much every day to charge the batteries sorry, I've got a real tickle in my throat this morning. Yeah, so as we have to run the engine every day to keep the batteries topped up to where they should be, we get hot water that way, which is a good thing. And so today, in a little bit, I will have the engine room open. When I've finished polishing all of the copper and brass, can't have you seeing a dirty engine, I'll show you around the engine room and you'll be able to have a good look at Thumper, the Russel Newberry DM2. Herbert being styled very much on a traditional type of boat. We have the vertical exhaust, as you can see, above the engine room. And also we have traditional controls. So on the right hand side is what's called the speed wheel, and that adjusts the throttle. Turn to the right clockwise and you go faster, turn to the left and it slows it down. The left hand side is the gear lever. Push forward for forwards gear. A little click tells you when you're in neutral, and that's reverse. Not exactly hard, is it? And there is the engine room and Thumper. And the big white thing you can see going up the centre, that's the exhaust and silencer. Although it's not really much of a silencer. If you've ever watched the Cruising the Cup video about Thumper, you would have seen some oil lamps dangling from the ceiling, and that is because that's the only illumination we have in here. We have no electrics in here at the moment, which is something I need to remedy, and I'll get round to doing that before too long. So those are our main switches for domestic 12 volt supply, and the main power supply for the engine on the left hand side, and the little box you can see with the gauge, the switch and the button on it, that's the big box that does the starting. Press the black button and away she goes. Back in the corner is an inverter. That big box there and that big box there, and yes, you did see a bacon sandwich. Those are the two main battery boxes, and in there are 6 Lifeline AGM batteries, 125 amp hours each. And when I was panicking the other day, I was checking on the price of them to see how much they were going to be to replace if they were damaged. Are you sitting comfortably? £496.45 each. And as I say, we've got 6 of the buggers. So starting at the back, we have a PRM 260 gearbox. The 2 copper pipes you can see take the gearbox oil down to the cooler, so it doesn't get too hot. Then behind that, on the right hand side, you have the coolant pump, which takes the coolant round the engine and also down to the skin tank. Now that acts a bit like a radiator on a car, except it uses the temperature of the canal water to cool the engine coolant. To the right of that is a little oil pump, that's used to suck waste oil out of the sump when you do an oil change. Behind that, on the right hand side, you have a calibrated oil pressure gauge, and then slap bang in the centre, that's the main fuel pump, high pressure pump as you need. And then working our way above it, you can see directly above the fuel pump is one of the injectors, and to the right of that is the engine temperature gauge. So on the right hand side of the engine, we're now looking aft. But the big black lump you can see below us is the starter solenoid and the starter motor, and quite big pieces of kit. I think the starter motor is probably half a horsepower on its own. I mean, it's a huge piece of kit when you see the size of the cables that are going towards it. And also, if I move my boot, that's a size 10 boot, so it's not exactly small. So there is our exhaust manifold, and all the shiny brass on the rocker covers, thermostat, air filter, or the big oil pressure gauge so that we can see what the oil pressure is doing from the steering position right at the stern. The tacho, see how many engine revs you've got. And this great big lump of brass, which is an absolute pain in the Harris to polish, is the header tank for the coolant. So then, the left hand side of the engine. So coming down, once again rocker covers, and the lever you can see, and I'll pull now, is our decompressor. In that position, that means that the exhaust valves are held open, so there is no compression on the engine. It means the engine spins over really easily to get it started because there's no compression, you're not working against anything. And all you do then is just push it forwards, that reintroduces the compression into the engine, and the engine will start. Standard diesel, direct injection, great piece of kit. And that is our tertiary fuel filter. There are two more fuel filters in front of that. The little gubbins you can see there, that's a manual lift pump. So that's what brings the diesel fuel up from the tanks, which I'm actually standing on. This is all fuel tank. All the way around the front there, and all the way down this side here. There's 150 gallons in there, so we ain't going to run out anytime soon. Then down here, this is our oil filler pot. You just unscrew the little button on the top, lift the whole lot off and glug in the oil that you need. Just there, the red bit you can see with the tooth ring on it, that's the flywheel, which weighs about 500 weight. So it's a fair old beast. And then this is our alternator. 210 amps. Way too big, to be perfectly honest, for this boat. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to change it. Best engineering practice. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So then, let's go for main engine start. Check we've got enough turns on the throttle. We'll put one more on that. That'll do. That's open the fuel rack. Pull the decompressor. And with the main power. Now this is going to be slightly interesting because I've got to try and start this engine one-handed. Normally you need two with the decompressors. So here it goes. There it goes. Oil pressure's come up quite nicely. Now you can see the tachometer is not reading. That's because the electrical system on this boat, the tacho, reads off the alternator. And to let the engine have a bit of time to sort itself out before it does anything major, the alternator won't take over for about the first 20 to 30 seconds. There it goes, it's just woken up. So that's 550 RPM, we'll knock it back a bit. That's better, about 400 RPM. That's how many amps. the alternator putting out. All looking good. She's hunting slightly, but she always does that when she's cold. Not going to show it very well, unfortunately. We can see the push rod coming up on the right hand side. There's a lever on this arm here that pushes the valve that way. This is 250 RPM ticker. Wouldn't be the same if I didn't do it. My lords! So there we go then. That's the tour of Herbert's engine room with Thumper the DM2, which is still thumping away behind us, as that now is going to be on charge, or running, sorry, for the next 3 to 3.5 hours to charge the batteries. They took a bit of a thumping yesterday, so we've got to make sure that we'll get them properly charged. Also, they're going to supply our hot water for today, and the joys of not having an immersion heater at the moment means we can only take a shower when the engines run for a good few hours and there's plenty of hot water in the system. So another reason why she's going to be banging away for quite some time. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you don't like it, please tell me why, and I'll try and do better next time. Once again, please take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and, you know, just do the best you can, listen to the advice and stick with it. We've been socially distancing ourselves now for over a week. We have one boat approximately 300 yards away, and that is it. We've taken one walk into Braunston, which is about 2 miles away, just to get some basics, some bread, some bacon. Everybody was very good, observing the minimum of 2 meters rule. So yeah, just take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you again before too long. All the best.